Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mack, John McMullen, wrapping up day number 10 of the Philadelphia Eagles on the practice field for training camp, the last practice of the week that will be open to reporters before the game on Thursday night. The Bengals, Johnny Mack, the Birds will take on Thursday evening. How you doing on this Tuesday evening, Johnny Mack?
Doing well. Yeah. Almost to the preseason opener. Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
But last practice before then, bit of a grind, 3 practices in a row. Scaled it back a little bit. Patches, helmets, and everybody in shorts for the most part. But still pretty competitive. Still a lot of red zone stuff. Eagles are basically installed now on both sides of the football. So I think they finished up on what day is today? Tuesday, Monday. They did the backed up stuff and the 4-minute offense. So everything's installed and on we go. Cincinnati, Cleveland coming in. By the way, it was supposed to be one practice, it's now 2 joint practices. So that should be exciting.
Wait, for next week?
Yeah. 2 joint practices against the Cleveland Browns.
Nice.
So you get to see a lot of crappy quarterback play, not from the Eagles. I was upset, but
at least you get to see Myles Garrett. You always say he's a fun practice.
Oh, yeah, man. Love it. David Njoku too, man. They're bus players. They're the guys you tell them to get off the bus first, and the opponents say, "Oh shit." Because those dudes are impressive, but
I've never heard that. Bus players get them off first to intimidate, mental warfare, Johnny Mack, intimidate your opponent.
Yep. Yeah, that's an old football trick, more of an high school level, but yeah, you let them come off the bus first, and
yeah, right. Good stuff there, Johnny Mack. Before we dive into day number 10 today, what the Birds did on the practice field. They made a move last night, Johnny Mack. Howie Roseman never sleeps. I think like 9:30, 10 o'clock, sometime around there last night. The trade broke that the Philadelphia Eagles have sent defensive tackle Thomas Booker to the Vegas Raiders and brought in cornerback Jakorian Bennett. J-Mac, we spoke about it briefly this morning, but we'll dive right back into it for the Birds 365 crowd tonight. Your first reaction, John, to the Eagles making a late-night trade for a cornerback. He was drafted in 23. He's 5'11", 195. He's a speedy player. He's got experience outside. He played some inside nickel in college. So kind of a versatile player, but drafted the same year as Kelee Ringo, 1 spot ahead of Ringo. Significant more playing time than Ringo at this point in his career. Your first thoughts, Johnny Mack, on the trade for Jakorian Bennett?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, I think the thing that stands out is the athleticism. Ran a 4.3 coming out, had a 40.5-inch vertical. So, you start to look back, and we'll talk to Howie at some point, but you start to look back, and the Eagles traded up for Kelee Ringo in that draft, and you say, well, because they went up pretty far to get Kelee in the 4th round,
right?
And maybe they wanted this guy.
Yeah, right.
And when he came off the board, they made the move. Who knows? But it is ironic that it was picked 104 and Kelee went 105 when the Eagles moved up. So, but yeah, we're in a wait and see mode. He was there today, he was on the practice field, not in uniform. He's going to be wearing 49 to start. I don't think he'll stay there because I do think he's going to make the team, and he'll change numbers when you get down to the 53. But, I think it's a worthy roll of the dice, start, throw, and you add him to – now you have Kelee Ringo as a young player. You have Jakorian Bennett. You have Eli Ricks, and you start to think, well, if you need one, you don't got to bat 1,000. You need 1 of 3 really to hit. And and that gives you better options. And then you have a Dory Jackson as the insurance policy, which he remains. But, I don't – if you're being honest, actions speak louder than words. There's a clear indication they were not happy with the way the competition was going. And, if those guys, one of those two guys had played a little bit better in Vic's mind, they probably wouldn't have made this deal. But we are where we are.
Yeah, we'll see what Jakorian Bennett can do for this team. John, where do you have him? Where do you think he would be right now? Is he third in that battle right there?
Well, he hasn't stepped on the practice field, so they'll get him up to speed as quickly as possible. He'll start behind Ricks, I imagine. So, but he'll work his way up quickly, I think. And again, not everything's about week 1. I say it all the time. It might be week 3, it might be week 5, it might be week 6, might be second half of the season. I do think this is not, if you go back, sometimes Howie makes August trades, and I remember Eli Harold coming in back in the day and he's cut, and sometimes you're just giving guys change of sceneries and seeing if something clicks. I don't think that's what's going on here. I think this is a player that they want to be involved. How quickly they can get him involved is the issue, because he's coming in late. It's not terribly late. It's not CJ Gardner-Johnson late, and there's some time to get him ramped up, but we all know how much Vic values practice time, and until he gets in here and until he starts competing, it's hard to project where he's going to be in a competition he hasn't even started to get in.
Any idea whether Vic would have, or any thought process on you? I did think it was somewhat interesting, John, 1 week ago, or around 1 week ago, last week, Vic brought up a Dory Jackson being a Howie guy, basically. And now a week later, they trade for another cornerback. Now, I'm not under the impression that Vic Fangio had anything to do with the trade for Jakorian Bennett. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. How do you see that? And do you tie those two together at all and think about anything that might be brewing between the front office and Vic Fangio potentially?
No, I mean, Vic's got a long rope coming off last season. Everybody knows Vic's gonna go off the script occasionally, which most of the other coaches aren't going to do, to say the least. But it's part of the price you pay for having the best defensive coordinator in football. And again, I said it this morning, but I want to say it again because I don't like that narrative. Vic said, and I'll pull it up. No, I didn't watch a whole lot of tape on him, talking about Dory Jackson. Howie wanted to sign him. And when Howie wants to sign somebody, it doesn't matter what I say. So we just took him in. That's what he said.
Well, that's not particularly a glowing endorsement.
No, it's not an endorsement, but it's not him saying, and what I tried to explain earlier on the morning show as well. Everybody's a Howie Roseman guy. Vic doesn't pick players. Nick doesn't pick players. Now they collaborate, and Howie's smart enough to understand that, if you get a bunch of players that the coaches don't like, it's not going to work out well. But nobody's declaring to Howie Roseman who to take or who to do that. And I said the last, and even then he took him. It's his responsibility, but he points back to the Jalen Reagor pick, and the coaching staff wanted Jalen Reagor, the personnel staff wanted Justin Jefferson, and he gave the coaching staff what they wanted, and he got a lot of shit for it. And that was he said, hey, if I'm going to get the shit, I'm going to make the decision. And sometimes it doesn't perfectly align with what a coach may want, but long term, you're usually on the same page. You can go back to Milton Williams and Alim McNeil with Tom Donahue as well. Howie and both of those guys turned into really good players, but Tom wanted a limb and how he made a decision.
Yeah, I think it should be that way. By the way, there has to be an order of there has to be a hierarchy and an order of operations that things follow. I got no issue with that.
Yeah. So I mean,
I'm just wondering because Vic threw that out there, to think how he called him in and said, "Yo, do we need to get somebody?" Like I thought you maybe liked the Dory Jackson. I don't know. I mean, a week later,
well, and again, I think that was 2 weeks ago. I mean, Vic spoke yesterday and said some nice things about it. Dory.
Yeah, but was that cleanup? Even from Vic, it felt like cleanup. And you don't expect Vic to do a whole lot of cleanup.
Well, that's what I mean. He generally doesn't lie. I mean, I don't.
I don't think he was lying, but I think he was
he got more first team reps again today. I mean, if the opener against Dallas was tomorrow, I think a Dory Jackson would be the starter. So I don't think he was lying. Said to the point, that what Vic was asked a question, and that's part of it too. I think that gets lost. You get asked a question and you answer the question. Well, some people do, some people don't, obviously. And the question was, what did he look like on film a year ago? And then he eventually gets benched. But did you chop that up more, whatever the hell that means, as a team wanting to look at younger players or blah, blah, blah. Anyway, come on, Brookie. You got to clean that up. But basically was asked, what did you see? What did you look at the film a year ago when Dory's with the Giants? And he said, no, I didn't watch a lot of tape on him. He answered the question. And then he went into, which he probably shouldn't have said, to be honest.
Which may be where the cleanup had to come.
How we wanted to sign him and then blah, blah, blah. But then, no, that's what I'm saying. Yesterday, when he was speaking about him, right now, is he happy with either of them? I would say no. But again, if they had to play the Cowboys tomorrow, Dory would be playing. I'm pretty confident of that. I don't think he's won the job, but again, it's a lot of time. But right now he's ahead. First team reps. And I paid a lot of attention to first team reps today. It's about 60-40-ish. A Dory. So, he's not the kind of guy who's going to spite himself to do cleanup. I'll tell you that. So do I think he likes either of them? Probably not right now. But of the two, I think he would start a Dory Jackson today. And he did start, ironically, a Dory Jackson in practice start. So he got the first rep today. So it's 6-4. But he also got more overall first team reps. But I mean, clearly when you bring in somebody who's got an upside to potentially be a contributor, you're probably not happy with what's going on.
John, which of these statements do you think holds a higher degree of truth or is more truthful? The Raiders wanted Thomas Booker and were willing to give up Jakorian Bennett, or the Eagles wanted Jakorian Bennett and were willing to give up Thomas Booker?
Well, I think both, from the standpoint of Pete Carroll likes big corners. Think Richard Sherman, think cover 3, think right. Seattle, think the Legion of Boom. So he wants bigger outside corners. And he obviously what's going on with Christian Wilkins. And the Eagles don't think there's that much difference from Thomas Booker to Gabe Hall to Byron Young to Ty Robinson. So they felt like they had, even though he, again, if it were tomorrow and the Eagles still had Booker, he'd be ahead of those guys, but just slightly. And they feel good with their depth. And it's one of those win-win trades. And a lot of it has to do with, probably, John Spytek, who used to work here with Howie, is the GM. Brandon Hunt is there. Anthony Patch is there. They both left this offseason for the Raiders. So there's tremendous trust between those two front offices.
Which matters. Sometimes I don't think people put enough stock in that. You got to, in order to do a trade, you want trust is, I would say, a big part of being able to work with another front office.
So I don't think, remember, Pete Carroll wasn't there, so he didn't draft, or he wasn't involved with the drafting of Jakorian Bennett. So I don't think he was a fit for them. And the Eagles liked him, and the Eagles felt they had enough depth at defensive tackle to give up a decent player to get a decent player is basically what happened.
Yeah, so good stuff. They clearly, I would say, John, there was at least some level of optimism I think people can take from this, that the Eagles feel pretty good about the defensive tackle room. I would say top to bottom. I know you mentioned Gabe Hall and, maybe even Ty Robinson, but I think it shows that maybe they're more confident in the progression of Jordan Davis and also what Moro Ojomo can be. Is that fair to say?
Well, yeah, that's the top three. The top three is they're not concerned about.
Yeah, but there is an element of newness to it. So if they're not confident in Moro Ojomo, why are you going to move on from the guy who's right on his heels, who at the very least is a competent football player, versus Gabe Hall, who might be good, but is a little bit more unknown.
Well, Thomas wasn't pushing the top three. He was leading the bottom four.
Right, but if you didn't feel confident in Moro Ojomo, you think you would still make this move?
Yeah, I don't think it has anything. First of all, I don't know. Nobody said they don't have confidence in Moro. They're very excited about Moro Ojomo. He's not.
No, I was saying he's
in the top three, and again, Thomas Booker wasn't pushing that top group. That top group is by themselves. And then I think a lot of people had Ty Robinson sort of penciled in. Maybe it still ends up that way. But I think Booker was playing better, probably Byron Young, but Byron got hurt with a little bit of a groin, so that'll hurt him. And Gabe Hall's had a pretty good summer as well. So I think they look at that bottom four and they say, well, yeah, Booker's the best, but it's not that drastic a difference between what they'll be able to get, and they won't keep them all, but what they'll be able to get from those guys, and they'll try to keep them all on the practice squad if they can.
I still feel like there's got to be a level of confidence, though, and which I know that they had, but my point was, does it show even bigger level of confidence? Because if they had tremendous confidence and felt defensive tackle was their deepest position, which is why they're trading from it. Yeah, right. Okay, so Booker is out, John. Jakorian Bennett is in. Is it time, John, for fans to start to get a little nervous that Kelee Ringo is not going to be the guy, John? They're trading for a cornerback at this stage. It's year 3 for Ringo. We were all hoping he came in and kind of seized the job. He's going back and forth to the Dory Jackson, and then boom, 2 days before the first preseason game, they're trading Thomas Booker to bring in another cornerback that was drafted the same year as him, one spot ahead of him. Is it time to start to question and wonder about what Ringo can be, John, for this football team?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think it's fair. It's the shed or get off the pot year for Kelee. He's going to be here, but if he's going to be here, it's just a gunner. He's going to probably play out his rookie contract, and that'll be it. But so this is the year he's got to come through. Still got time. Still probably more gifted than, even though this guy got picked one step before. Kelee's got better size. He's better in run support. Doesn't have quite the vertical, but just as fast at so hot at such a bigger guy. And then Dory, who, back in the day was a first round pick, obviously, but he's older, not the player he once was. So, this was the year that he could have seized the position, by the way, he almost had a pick 6 today. That would have changed the narrative.
There you go.
Probably not with Vic, but it would have, for the people in attendance, it would have changed the narrative.
Right.
And he dropped it, unfortunately. But yeah, he's got to play better, and I think this is, not only is it an attempt at that dart, it's also an attempt to light something under him as well, I think.
Right. I said that. Pressure, man. Give competition. Now you got 2 guys with 2 years left that are both fighting for a second contract. I think that's a good part.
Yeah, and that's when I asked, there's a lot of lobbying back and forth, and Nick getting asked questions about, and Nick's very good now these days about filibustering and changing things in the direction he wants. So I said, bleep this, I'm going to ask him, what does this say? And I said, what does this say about a Dory and Kelee? And he went to the competition card, and making people better. So, I mean, obviously he's here because they're not happy. He's not here. If they're happy, why are they trading for a corner?
Right. That's the simple answer. Occam's razor, right? Isn't that what it's called? Simple. Yeah. The simplest answer is sometimes the best one. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. We're going to dive back into that in hour number 2. We'll kind of break down where that position is, who we project, and then what it might look like moving forward. John, let's get into the practice today. You mentioned Nick Sirianni spoke. They got the preseason game on Thursday. Before we get into on the field, one thing that Nick said, asked about the starters, and I think somebody said, Vic mentioned he wanted to get some of his guys out there, and Nick was like, "Yeah, me and Howie will meet and make the decision." I don't know if you made anything of that. Is there nothing to make of that? I feel like Vic is one of those guys that wants a say, and this is not the organization you're going to get much of a say on any of those things.
No, I think like I constantly say, I think people think Vic has more power than he has.
DC, that's it, right? I mean, you're the defensive coordinator.
I mean, he's in charge of the defensive scheme and the defensive players and game day. Who's going to get the playing time and all that. That's his purview. He's not involved in personnel and game decisions, and guys who are going to play, especially in the preseason, are Nick and Howie, because it's got more to do with health and safety, whatever dogma than actual playing time. But while I say that, if you go back to last year, there are things they practice a little bit more. If you listen to a Vic Fangio press conference, there is always a passive aggressive comment about not practicing enough. Every single one of them, he throws it in there. Yesterday was about Jihad Campbell. We're throwing a lot at him. It's probably not fair because we don't practice enough. Every single press conference.
Do you think that'll wear down the Eagles organization a little bit? I mean, they've kind
not
of
as long as he continues to perform at the level he performed at. Eventually, yeah. If you're got the 20th ranked defense,
yeah, right. Your rope shortens quick.
Yeah. Well, now you're seeing some of the stuff like, why is Miami? Why are they upset? Why that? Blah blah blah. You're seeing, you see some of the stuff. I love the guy. I think it's great, but you can see how people would be rubbed the wrong way. And if you're rubbed the wrong way when you're losing, things can fall apart pretty quickly. But I don't think you have to worry about anything until the Eagles are losing, and there's no evidence that's going to happen anytime soon. So, and by the way, I think they will let him have what he wants because there's legitimate competitions on the defensive side of the ball, and I think they know, Nick and Howie, that Kaylee's got to play and Sydney's got to play and Dory's got to play and Makuba's got to play. I don't know if he's going to play in this game, but he was back at practice in a limited fashion, so that was a positive sign. So was Mac McWilliams. So they might hold those guys out because of the injuries, but the guys competing and the younger players, they have to play. And I think they'll be on board with Vic when it comes to that.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, let's go on to the football field today, brother. Day number 10, the final practice open to the media before that first preseason game. I believe they'll have a walkthrough tomorrow and then obviously game day on Thursday. Are they off Friday and then back on the weekend? How's the weekend schedule work after a Thursday preseason game?
Yeah, Friday, day after a game, they're always off. Saturday, they're back on the practice field. Sunday is the open practice at Lincoln Financial Field. So that's a night practice. And then I haven't looked ahead that far. I think they have Monday off, and I think they're back Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Wednesday, Thursday, joint practices against Cleveland. There's no time set for them because they're still working out with the Browns.
I think that's a Saturday preseason game, right? Like a 1 o'clock. It's like 1 o'clock.
Good. 1 o'clock preseason game is gold.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're gonna have a night game against the freaking Cincinnati Bengals in a preseason, and then a night game against the New York Jets up there.
Oh man.
Talk about a freaking disaster.
Are you bailing out on that Jets game? It wouldn't surprise me if you did. Fucking A. Jets.
Yeah, I'm going because you hate to miss shit.
Yeah.
But it's hey, I remember being up there when Corey Clement made the team and then turned into a Super Bowl hero. So guys can make the team in that final game, but obviously you're talking about 52, the 52nd spot, the 53rd spot. Most of the stuff is pretty ironed out by that point, but yeah, preseason football is tough watch. Let's all be honest. We can all be honest. It's a tough one.
It's a tough product, no doubt. I think people are just excited to see the Eagles jerseys back on the screen, which is all good. That's part of being a fan. I'm excited for that part of it as well. John, what happened on the football field today? What stuck out? First couple things that come to mind when I say that about day 10 of practice today at the NovaCare Complex.
Yeah, I mentioned, Kelee dropping a pick six. Cooper got an interception today in the end zone. Eagles were working their blitz package, so especially in the red zone. So you saw a couple of nice blitzes from Trotter and Small Munden. Jalen got the interception. He threw it off his back foot. Where's a big blitz coming at him. And it was to Dallas Goedert, sort of a corner route, and Dallas kind of broke it off, and he just sailed it over his head, and Cooper was playing center field. So he had an interception. A lot of good stuff for the offense, too. Jahan Dotson had a crossing route for a touchdown, deep crossing route on Cooper as well for a touchdown. So that was good. They ran the same in red zone. They ran the same route to Will Shipley twice in a row. Little sort of just flare out to with Tanner McKee rolling out, and he got like 7 yards down to 3, and then they ran the exact same play and got a touchdown. I like that because too often coaches try to outthink themselves, and it's like, hey, if they can't stop it, keep running it. And they ran it on consecutive plays, and they scored a touchdown. So I thought that was interesting. Elijah Cooks and Eli Ricks have been having a nice battle. Elijah won today, man. It was a great move, almost like an open field basketball move. He sort of an in-breaking route, and then he juked outside after he caught it, and Eli was just stuck, and he scampered in for a touchdown. Great move by Elijah Cooks. So he continues to have a good camp. As I said, Makuba was back working a little bit. Mac McWilliams was back, so that's positive. Makuba's got to get back out there. So those were the
slipping from Makuba, at least early.
Well, I mean, he missed 6 practices.
That's what I mean. Sydney's clearly in that driver's seat right now.
Yeah. So he's got to get back, and he's got to get back quick, and he was back today. So I don't think he'll play in the preseason game. That's what Big thought on Monday, but he was back there today, so that means he should be back as a full go after the game, which would be that Saturday practice. And he'll get, a lot of people get to open some eyes against Cleveland. And I think the defense is going to look pretty good because, let's be honest, I mean, they got some issues at the quarterback position. So I think the offense is the defense is going to look pretty good.
I think they said they're playing. Oh no, that was well, the Browns. The Browns are next week, but
the Browns are next week. I'm talking about the Browns. I mean, but Makuba. I was talking about Makuba, so he'll be back for those joint practices against the Browns. And you
don't like Shador, John. I think they're playing Shador in the preseason games.
Well, I don't like any of them. I don't like. I mean, Joe's probably the best option. Well, Kenny's hurt. I don't know if he's back.
Yeah, I saw that Kenny got hurt.
Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders. So, I mean, and Joe's knows what he's doing, obviously, but he's 100 years old, so
yeah.
That factors into it. But it's always fun joint practices because, and especially with some of the, like the Eagles defensive front, I want to see them against different people from 2 different directions. I want to see, like, can Morrow continue to, like, Cleveland, people think they stink, but they got a pretty good offensive line. So, Wyatt Teller, Joel Bitonio, they're good guards. So I want to see, is it Tyler Steen or is it not Tyler Steen? And similarly, they have okay tackles, but they're not Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. So does the production ramp up for Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith? That's the kind of interesting things you see when the competition changes. So I think that'll be exciting. Far more exciting than the preseason game.
Yeah. I don't know what we're going to see in the preseason game on Thursday, if anything, but at least we'll get a chance to see some of these guys that we've been hearing you talk about. So we could probably see Kelee Ringo, Eli Ricks, Dory Jackson. Do you think Jakorian Bennett will get out there for the preseason? No, right?
No, he didn't even practice today. They're done. They have a walkthrough. So, he'll be out there. He'll be out there Saturday, and he'll be in the joint practices as well against Cleveland next week. So that should be a big test for him. I mean, it is preseason. They could throw him out there if he's healthy, but I don't think that would do him any favors. He's got to at least learn the scheme a little bit. So I would be shocked if they put him out there. But yeah, I think those joint practices will be far more important than the preseason game, and they always are.
Yep, good stuff, John. And what else stuck out from practice today? Let's go to Jalen Hurts, QB1. You mentioned obviously some of the reps he had. It feels like, John, and I don't know, maybe I'm off based on it a little bit, but it feels like the chemistry with Jahan Dotson is showing a little bit here early in camp.
Yeah, I think that started to pick up late last year, and yeah, they're much more comfortable together this year. And I think that's a big thing for Jalen because I think, you've seen it in the past when guys get hurt, he doesn't necessarily trust the backups. But sometimes you have to, because, you got to trust who's out there, but that's easier said than done. And I think it takes a while. And I think he's now really comfortable with Jahan. So at the point where you say that, it's AJ, Devontae, Dallas, and John, I think he's comfortable with all 4, and that's a positive development.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mack, Jahan Dotson getting a little bit. Dallas Goedert as well. You mentioned him there, but he's having a good camp, man. Seems at least he's been having a good camp Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, I mean he's great. Poor Makuba got nailed again by Dallas Goedert. It's just
welcome to the NFL, Makuba. Yeah.
But
he go.
It was a red zone. I mean, that's the thing about the NFL. Jonathan Gannon used to call it tough duty. It's like sometimes you're just up against it because the other team's got somebody's really freaking good, and somebody's got to deal with it. And the Eagles have a lot of those types of players. So, it was a red zone from about the 10-yard line, just a bullet to the back of the end zone. At the top, like at the top of Dallas Goedert's catch radius. So you can imagine, how big Dallas is and him stretching out, and he high pointed the football. And Makuba needed another foot of height, it seemed like, to do anything about it. But he did in the middle of the field, he showed up the good stuff in that he's very athletic. He's very instinctive. And Tanner McKee threw one over the middle to Conley Granson, and he just, like a bullet, broke it up. And you saw some of the athleticism. But, there's a give and take. Sometimes he's going to get just overmatched by size, and other times he's going to be able to take advantage of that athleticism.
How has your opinion of him evolved through 10 practices? I know he's been out for what, 6 of them?
Well, he hasn't, as Vic would say, he's not right. He missed 6 practices in team drills. So which is all that matters. Like, I don't care if you're limited out there doing individuals and stretching. He missed 6 practices.
But that could, listen, I'm not, obviously you didn't see him, but maybe that factors into how your opinion has evolved. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be fucking big enough to play in the NFL. That could be a part of it.
I don't think he's matched up well with Dallas Goedert, but again, that's not that big of a deal.
Dallas Goedert better than a lot of tight ends, but I wouldn't say he's like head and shoulders bigger than most tight ends in the league. He's pretty standard size tight end.
Well, yeah. All tight ends are big, but he's big and athletic. Most tight ends can't get down the field like he can get down the field. And there's a few that can, but not many, certainly top 10.
So it'll be easier to get him down, but they might just run him.
Well, no, when you're talking about that, like that particular play made today, it was all about size. It was all about high pointing. It was all about throwing it where the D-back can't even get to it. And he snatched it out of the air. But yeah, there's not, all tight, like Nick Muse on the Eagles, backup tight end. He's the same size, but he don't move like Dallas Goedert.
Nick Muse is, most are better than Nick Muse. I don't know who's the first 4 tight ends we play. Who's Dallas's tight end? They got the Jake Ferguson guy.
Yeah, he's
and you got Kansas City. You got Kelsey. You got the Rams. They got Tyler Higbee, and then the Bucks. Who's the Bucks tight end? Cade Otton, is it? I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Dallas is better than
all of them, but. Maybe not Kelsey. I think at this point, probably actually better than Kelsey.
I think he is better than Kelsey. I said that on purpose.
At this point.
Now, Kelsey at his height, no, obviously. But he's not the same player he once was. So I do think he's better than him right now. But, no, I don't like, I don't like his chances against certain tight ends, George Kittle types. But, I don't like many safeties against.
Yeah, but you feel like example, ready? Cooper DeJean's not the tallest dude in the world. He's probably got an inch or two on Makuba, if that. I don't know if I worry as much about that guy stacking up from a frame standpoint as he continues to put on NFL weight. I look at that guy, I'm like, all right, yeah, he's going to be mismatched because everybody would be mismatched in that environment, but I at least feel a little better about him holding up. When I look at Makuba,
Cooper's better, basically.
Yeah, but again, is Makuba not good enough?
Well, he's practiced 4 times. I'll default to Vic. When he was asked about the safety competition, and he was bringing up everybody, and he said, for the younger guys, well, Makuba hasn't been practicing, so can't answer that. I don't. He can't. The guy that hasn't practiced, you know. So I mean, he's athletic. He's got some size issues. We're worried about. You know, can he hold up? He hurt his shoulder already. I think those are legitimate concerns. He is going to be undersized for the position. So there's going to be some deficiencies from that standpoint, but he's very athletic, and he can cover, and that's what Vic wants. So if he can get healthy and he can start practicing, he's still going to get beat every once in a while by Dallas Goedert because he's just going to body him. But
right.
Tight ends do that all the time.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I don't want to completely rule him out, but I think some of my concern with him, John, and I don't know what you feel about this. I'll give you a chance to kind of elaborate on your thought process on it. But sometimes you see guys come in and you're like, all right, they're a little undersized, but you know, you see the frame. You're like, all right, like Jalix is a perfect example. You used to say last year, he's not his NFL body yet, but he's got the frame to fill out and be that guy. When I look at Makuba, I don't really see that. Now, it's too early for me to make a grandiose proclamation that he's never going to become that or get bigger or any of those things, but the frame looks like an issue to me. Does it look like an issue to you?
It does against Dallas, but nobody else. No. Which, you know, again, you know, I always bring up the context of who you're against. You know, the Eagles have 7 tight ends. I don't worry about them against the other 6 who are all big. They're bigger than them. But when you combine that size with athleticism, and then it becomes a problem. But those guys are not. There's not a lot of those guys. Most of them are just, you know. But yeah, you start talking about, you know, Kittles and Hawkinsons and guys and Laportas and why am I forgetting the Las Vegas Brock Bowers? I mean, he might be the best of them all now. Brock Bowers.
He's an impressive young player.
Yeah, I don't like that matchup, but you know,
that's not going to be everyone. But I mean, shit, man, there's just some big contenders there in the NFC that you just named. So we'll see. We'll see how he does. I'm hopeful for Makuba, but I don't really know what to think about him at this point. We will see. Sidney Brown. How has Sidney Brown looked, John, in his absence? Looked okay?
Yeah, I mean, Sidney's been fine. Sidney's been not a lot of mistakes, not a lot of plays. So
sounds like that's Vic coaching, right? Isn't that kind of what Vic said he wanted out of the player?
Yeah, I think it's just been steady Eddie. But you do see a difference between, you know, Reed and Sidney. As far Reed almost made a pick today. Reed's a lot more instinctive. You know, it was a 7-on-7 drill. Johnny Wilson over the middle. He just jumped it, just missed it. I don't see Sidney making those types of plays, but you know, right now he's their best option.
When do you think that Reed contract's coming?
I still think he's getting it before the start of the season. So that's usually it's usually started training camp or 2 days before the season or a day before the season starts.
Right. I still feel like they're going to give it to him, but John, if they move Cooper DeJean back and you got 2 high picks, you got a second and a third at safety. I don't know. I'm not trying to say they're going to get rid of Reed. I think they're bringing Reed back too, but you got to wonder.
Well, I mean,
basically by paying Reed, and if in theory Cooper moved, which I don't know if he will, I don't think he will, but maybe he will full time. You're giving up on one of those assets, a second, a third. It's not going to be Cooper DeJean.
Well, I'll say this, you know, behind the scenes, it's pretty clear the Eagles want to sign him. Now, there's always this is always a two-way street.
Right.
Now, by the Eagles wanting to sign him, the Eagles might be lowballing him. And he might say, you know what? I think I'm going to play again. I'm going to be on a very good team with a very good defense. And I'm going to play well, and I'm going to earn my money. So I think I think people just think it's simple. And the Eagles declare, and again, we talked a lot about Milton yesterday. They were trying to sign Milton, trust me, but they were trying to get him at a good team-friendly price. And he said, I'm going to play a lot. I'm going to play well. And I'm going to get a big contract.
Exactly.
So it's a two-way street. And maybe Reed's in that category.
Any idea where you think that number might be from an Eagles perspective, like where they might top? I mean, I know we floated like a 15 million number earlier.
Well, no, the Eagles aren't paying him 15. I brought that up because
I know, but based on the salaries around the league, I know why you brought that up.
Yeah,
but that feels way too rich for me.
That's the problem because
right.
Cam Bynum is the guy using an example. He's a pretty good player, but he's got some deficiencies. I think Reed is a much better overall player. And he got 15 million a year. And if I'm Reed Blankenship, I'm saying, come on. And the Eagles, I'm sure, are trying to get him at 9 or 10 or something like that. And that's why I say it's not as easy as just snapping your fingers and getting it done. So the fact that it isn't done may have just as much to do with Reed Blankenship as it has to do with the Eagles.
We'll see what it shakes out with Reed Blankenship. Johnny Mac, keep rolling along. We mentioned the safeties, mentioned the cornerbacks. Dory Jackson got more reps today at the first team than Kelee Ringo. I think John put it at 60-40, so we'll keep monitoring that. John, did Dory get the first rep again, and he moved to 6-4 in the
Yeah.
Okay, so he got the first rep. So that's 6-4 in that battle through 10 practices. John, moving up to the linebackers, how did our boy JAKIB Campbell look today?
Little bit concerning from the standpoint of they keep giving Small Munden coverage snaps. Now, and I say the only reason I say it's concerning is because that's what's going on right now. The minute Zach Bond gets back, that all shuts it all down. So then you have no issues whatsoever. But I do think it's notable that Small's getting a lot of coverage reps, and he seems to be ahead from that perspective. He had a great rep against Saquon. He was just in his hip pocket the whole way, which is always pretty impressive when a linebacker can keep up.
Yeah. Clearly seems like he's showing some good signs, John. Now, obviously, he has some polish to put on, but it feels like he's showing some good things in camp for a rookie out there.
Yeah, and he's very, people talk about Campbell's length. Small's very long too. So obviously JAKIB's
got the playing time, John, for Small, right? I mean, if he's that good in coverage.
Well, again, when Bond's back, it's not an issue, but
right.
For now it's Trotter and Campbell are the starters, and Small kind of mixes in usually when it's coverage related. 7-on-7, some like today was the red zone stuff. He was playing most of the first team snaps in red zone, Smile, for that reason. And plus the big blitz was Smile and Trotter, not Campbell.
Right.
So yeah, that to me is a little bit concerning, but again, Vic mentioned they're putting a lot on his plate. They don't practice enough. And he's, maybe swimming a little bit. Because they're trying to get him up to speed as an edge rusher as well.
Right.
And, inside linebacker, Vic says, is the toughest position to learn the scheme. But you have to give Smile credit at least as a coverage player.
Yeah, we'll see how that shakes out. Good to have a lot of these linebackers, though, playing good. Trotter having a good camp. Munden making some signs. JAKIB Campbell
still wants Zach Bond back.
Oh, no doubt about that. No doubt about that. But it is good to have a lot of these guys, playing. That might be part of the Fangio effect, right? He loves linebackers. So he shows up, and all of a sudden we got an abundance of joy, abundance of players at linebackers. Good stuff there.
By the way, I should mention that too. I don't know. For some reason, there were a bunch of fans losing their mind today because Zach's been out for a while. He hasn't been practicing, a little bit of a back thing, and AJ's obviously out with a hamstring. So those guys are at practice every day. They're watching. They're not rehabbing during practice. So they're just being very careful with two of their best players. If they're not 100%, they're not going to be out there. It's August 5th. So there's no concern over the injuries to Zach Bond and AJ Brown.
Yeah, good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, moving up to the defensive line. First day without Thomas Booker. Anything noticeable in depth on the defensive line, J Mac, in the interior of the D line?
No, just it. Thomas occasionally would get, because Carter was dealing with something at the beginning of camp as well, so he would get some first team reps, especially in 50 fronts, and they didn't use much of that today because they were working on mainly with 4-man fronts, and it doesn't come into the equation as much. But it'll be interesting when they do play a little bit more base, who that rotational guy is, who they give the first opportunity. Byron Young might be that guy, but he's hurt. So, then you get down to Gabe Hall and Ty Robinson. So I got a hunch that Byron Young, if he gets back, will be more in the mix than people think.
Right.
Because he can also, he's not the Eagles don't really have a backup for Jordan Davis as a nose tackle, because it's tough to find guys that big who can move. So he was getting some nose tackle reps as a backup earlier, so he's got some versatility as well. You don't want him playing nose tackle, God forbid, but like I always go back to 2021, Javon Hargrave had to play nose tackle.
Right.
If somebody gets hurt, you might have to do it, but so he's probably more in the equation. But again, now he's got a groin injury, so if it lingers, can't make the club in the tub. So, and we know Ty's going to be here. It's just a question of how quickly they can get him up to speed.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. Is that going to be the battle to replace Booker? Will it be Gabe Hall and Byron Young? Is it between one of those guys?
No, I think Ty's in that. He's in it.
Well, how many will they keep? How many DTs you think they keep? 5?
I mean, they technically, they got to keep more, whatever you want to call them. A label. By the way, that was another great Vickism. Somebody asked him, because we've had this question. Do you ever envision playing 3 linebackers on the field at the same time? And what I love about Vick is he'll bandy back with a reporter, and he looked at, I forget who asked it, but he looked at him and he said, "Playing linebacker?" The labeling thing I always talk about.
Right.
3 linebackers on the field. And he said, "Playing linebacker?"
Oh, my God.
He said, "Yeah, Will, Mike, Sam." And Vic said, "No." The one word, no. It's just not the way the sport is played now.
Right.
I mean, you got a bunch of people spreading the field. You can't have 3. But what he was trying to say is, yeah, Campbell might be on the field. So if you're going to be one of those knuckleheads that say linebacker, 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 but if he's not playing linebacker and he's labeled it, that's what Vic was trying to say.
Right.
So again, you can label Cooper DeJean a cornerback, but if he's playing safety, he's playing safety. You can label Jahad Campbell a linebacker, but if he's playing edge rusher, he's playing edge rusher, or as the Eagles call it,
this
overhang.
damn labeling thing, John. It's like so far. Can we fix it? Is there any chance at fixing this or no?
No. There's no chance of fixing it. I've been trying to fix it for 15 years. But I love it when somebody like Vic just because he you know, Vic's not a dick too. He's trying to educate. He's trying to say, you know, guys are versatile. Guys play different positions. Just because you're a linebacker and you're on the field at the same time as two other linebackers doesn't mean you're playing linebacker. You're playing a different position. That's what he was trying to explain.
Right.
That's the only way it would happen. But technically, like later in the season, you might have Zach Bond, Jacoby Dean, and Jahad Campbell on the field together. And I guarantee you,
I love the sound of that. I don't give a shit what they're labeled, John. I
guarantee you some knucklehead Yahoo out there, they're playing 3 linebackers.
John, back to the original question.
And I will point back to Vic to say what they're doing. But I lost, tangent, but I lost
DTs. We were on the DT. How many DTs are they keeping on this team?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to figure it out in my head. They can't keep.
I think 5. How many did they keep last year?
Well, see, the practice squad, you can keep. They're going to keep 5 or 6 when you count the practice squad in it.
Do any of these guys have a chance of getting sniped though if they get put on the practice squad?
Ty,
there's no way they're putting him on the practice squad.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's about the other guys. Yeah, you can always get sniped, but I mean, that's not that big of a deal, to be honest. But, again, the labeling. So if you look at last year, by the end of the year, the Eagles had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 defensive linemen. But that's counting Brandon Graham and Bryce Huff. So they had Thomas Booker, Carter, Davis, Ajomo, Milts. So they kept 5. And then they have a bunch of edge rushers that are called linebackers to join. But again, the labeling problem. So, I could see them keeping 4 if they're not comfortable. Mainly 5. I could see them doing the practice squad thing. Like if they feel that they can get Gabe Hall through waivers, they'll put him on the practice squad.
Right.
But if Howie gets the feel that he can't, he won't. And Young's a wild card because I got to see how long he's going to be out. But most likely 5, but there's an outside chance they use the practice squad to keep 4, and that would be the 4th guy would be Robinson, and try to do it with the practice squad.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening at the defensive tackle room. J-Mac, good stuff there on all the position battles. Good breakdown of day number 10 for the Philadelphia Eagles of practice, open to the media. So J-Mac was down there today for the programming update for all listening. And I want to thank everybody for being here. It's good to see everybody. Got some old friends, too, that are back in the chat tonight. HKP, I see you, brother. Thanks for being here. Always good to get everybody back as the season gets closer and closer. Programming note, 8 to 10 a.m. back for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week. So back in our normal morning spot for the next 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So thanks, everybody, for tuning into the night show. We do appreciate that. John, last question before I take our commercial break. We hit all the battles so far. Right guard is still Tyler Steen, and it will be Tyler Steen, it looks like, at this point, correct?
Yeah, no evidence it's got. That's another guy I want to see against other competition to see if, vice versa.
Kind of a tough situation, though, because I don't think they're going to play him in the preseason.
No, but I'm mainly talking about the joint practices. I think that's going to be big. Certainly, I don't think it's going to be huge for the starters. And, obviously the the one starter you have question marks on offense is Tyler Steen. That's it, which is a pretty good position to be in.
It is. It's a great position to be in.
Because you don't worry about anybody else. But him, yeah, I mean, I think there's, you know, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to hold up. But give Stoutland the benefit of the doubt. I think he deserves it. But, you know, if you look at Cleveland, you know, Mason Graham, what is he, a top 5 pick? I don't know how he's doing, but I know he's got great athleticism. And Malik Collins, okay player, you know. See how he does against them. Hopefully they're healthy. But I think, you know, you'll be able to gauge him a lot better when Cleveland comes in.
Good stuff there. Let's get to some super chats. John, appreciate it. Good first hour. Thanks, everybody. This is an interesting one here. Let me get to it. Shoot, where did it go? Yaw says Morrow beat Landon for the sack today, not Steen. Can you confirm or deny, J-Mac?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I did see the sack, but I can't say 100% which way it was.
That would be a positive sign, but John's only got one set of eyes, and there's a lot of things happening on the field.
And you know, there's so many would-be sacks. Obviously, nobody's taking anybody to the ground, so there's a lot of. But that particular play, they did stop it, so it was a legit practice sack. But I you know, usually, because to be 100% honest in this, I've been hyper-focused on the back seven with the defense. I've been hyper-focused with the defense in general, but within the defense, because there's no uncertainty on offense, but mainly on the back seven and what's going on there. So, yeah, we don't have replays. You know, there is a video board at practice that the Eagles unveiled last year, but you know, really only the coaches can see it. So it's not, occasionally you can get a glimpse of it if you're in a perfect position, but if you miss a play, it's not like you can rewind it.
Yeah. Right.
So I haven't seen anybody describe it. But you know, I can't answer that with.
Does DJ Mac have a semi-photographic memory? It wouldn't surprise me if you said yes to that.
I have a pretty good memory. I wouldn't call it photographic.
No, all right, good stuff. Cody's checked in. He says, late to the party. What's good, boys? Cody, thanks for being here, brother. Hit that like button. Appreciate the $2. Thank you, dude. Brian Pump checking in. Here we go. Fellas, enlighten me. The 26th ranked pass defense was willing to trade this guy for DT number 5. Why they trade him? This fan base says he's the end-all, be-all. Well, you can be a good player on a bad defense, but I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to see a pretty good player on a bad defense coming in, on a bad team coming in next week. So, yes, you can be a good player. Well, I think – I don't think anybody has made him out to be the be-all, end-all. If they have, yeah, they're wrong. But, yeah, I mean, the Raiders – have been a bad team. By the way, I think they're going to get much better now that Pete Carroll's there and Geno Smith is there to calm down. And by the way, I think they're going to be better because now they have Brandon Hunt there and Anthony Patch there and John Spytek there. So I think they're going to start getting better. But yeah, I would not proclaim this player, Jakorian Bennett, as the answer to all the Eagles' cornerback problems.
No, I wouldn't either. Pump, thank you, brother. Sig Lord checks in. Addison suspended 3 games. J-Mac sad. I don't know why these people are obsessed with you and the Vikings, John. They all seem to think you're like a Vikings truther.
Well, I used to cover the Vikings, so I'm not. I mean, I knew he was going to get suspended 3 games. That's what the NFL does for alcohol offenses now. So, if unsurprised means sad, I guess I'm sad, but I don't give a rat's ass about Jordan Addison being on the field. I guess I'll have to throw away my Jordan Addison jersey.
We'll give it away.
I would actually because he's a very good player, by the way, but boy, he's a dummy. You know, he got in trouble the first time for driving 120 on I-94 in Minneapolis, and you know, then he was caught for drunk driving, I believe, in LA. So, I mean, that's been what the NFL has done the past couple of years. If you get an alcohol-related offense, you're going to get suspended for 3 games.
I'm going 140 to 55. What the fuck are you driving 140 miles an hour for? What?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. You know, hopefully he learns from it because he is a good
track, man. You got all this money. Fucking build a track. It would cost you a couple $100,000 and save a lot of your damn earnings from your career.
And think about what happened to Henry Rudd. I mean, do you think guys would learn? And he's a good player, and he was in the line to make a lot of money. And by the way, now the guarantees in his contract are voided because of that.
Yeah.
Now, they're not going to cut him, but they could cut him if he does something stupid again. You know, if he stays, you know, on the straight and narrow here, I'm sure he'll be fine. He'll play at his rookie deal. He'll get all his money. But, and if he's, you know, he's a good player, so somebody will give him a contract, whether it's the Vikings or somebody else. But, a lot of repercussions to that, and his rookie contract is no longer fully guaranteed because it was voided by that.
That's a big one there. I didn't even realize that about the guarantees. M. Reyes checks in. What's up, Reyes? Uh-oh. J-Mac, I'm glad we both predict an Eagles repeat.
I never pick anybody to repeat because it's so hard to win, but yeah, I'm not on board with that. I don't think they'll repeat. Doesn't mean they can't. They're I would say one of the handful of legitimate contenders. But I would not bet on a repeat. It's hard to win. You got
anybody in mind that you think's gonna win it this year?
Well, I always pick Baltimore because I'm going to be right one year.
I don't know if you are or not.
I'm going to be right. The stars will align. The stars align for Andy Reid. The stars will align. Well, John's already got one, but they'll align again for Baltimore.
Rudy is our resident Cowboy fan tonight. He says my Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl.
Now, they are not going to win the Super Bowl.
Sorry, Rudy. Thanks for being here, big guy. Hit that like button. Appreciate everybody for being here tonight. Good show so far. We'll come back, close out hour number 2. We got about 50 minutes left to play. All right. And Jakorian Bennett has landed, everybody. We'll talk a little bit more about that in hour number 2. Appreciate you being here. Hit that like button.
We're going to give away the number 49 Bennett jersey. No. Let's get it out there.
Some are calling for a Moro Ajomo giveaway, John, after last night's kerfuffle.
What is the standard going to be?
I don't know. We didn't decide on that, but people were calling for a Moro Ajomo jersey giveaway.
Is it going to be first NFL sack?
I was thinking the problem with it is I don't like giving jerseys away of players that I don't know their future. Like he's probably gone in 2 years. I'd rather give away Jalen Carter, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. Like Saquon's already immortalized, so even if he does go by, that's always going to be a good Eagles jersey. Like I like giving away jerseys that are going to be.
I always love the Eagles fan base because and by the way, I love Moro Ajomo as a player, but when I put some blanket on stuff, cold water on stuff, and I'm not a big sack guy by any stretch. I think anybody who's watched this, but Eagles fans are obsessed by and large by sacks. They're obsessed.
That's most fans. That's not just Eagles fans, dude.
Well, this guy has no sacks in his NFL career. None. 0.
I didn't know that.
0.
But he was a 6th graded pass rusher last year.
Nada. Nada.
To your point, does it fucking matter, John?
Nada. It does to them until it doesn't.
Oh, Johnny Mac calling out the fan hypocrisy. You guys better stop. I need the fans to start clapping back at John. John and Jeff Kerr have a field day with you guys every week.
Well,
not a single one of you claps back.
One thing I've learned over the years that hypocrites do not care that they're hypocritical. So, it doesn't even matter when you point it out.
Do you think you've ever been guilty of that yourself, John?
No. I am objective as all
I'm not accusing you. I was just wondering if you think that's more of a blanket.
No.
All right, good stuff. Let's take our first commercial break. Appreciate everybody being here. Love all you guys. Hit that like button. 3 minutes. We'll be right back on Birds 365.